Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 907 for the 18th of August. The frontline changes report, I wrote the wrong number. I wrote 910 is wrong. It's 907. So anyway, we go to the frontline changes report. Of course, has already been published on the main channel, so do check it out. And now we will cover the situation report. Of course, if you have watched the frontline changes report, you know how crazy things has become over the past 24 hours. Crazy things have happened. So we're gonna go anti-clockwise direction. We'll start with Kursk and with Kursk. So if you want to watch the Kursk update, just jump. If you're not interested in other things, in case you are pro-Ukrainian, then if you're pro-Ukrainian, the Ukraine war don't exist. There's only the Kursk offensive. So we're gonna go into the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, Russian forces was allegedly attacking in the Dnipropetrovsk direction. So it could be yet another attack. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, we have no confirmation from any other sources. So take it as what it is. So moving into the Zaporizhia front, at the Zaporizhia front, there is fighting reported over in Pyatikaki as well as Malatomachka. That's about it. Over in the Zaporizhia front, we don't have any other reports. We move into the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk front, we have again this weird report by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about fighting near Rozdone. However, Rozdone is very far away from the front line, so I have no idea how to interpret this. Over at in the Voleda region. So let's Voleda region. Russian forces are still attacking in the region of Voleda, and they are now attacking in the region of Vodian. So information from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the one with Vodian, have reported by more people, by Ryba, Russian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit by a guided missile from an helicopter east of Voleda just shows the intensity of the fighting around here. The Russians are not sparing resources in this offensive in this area here. This is a very sad place. It's just full of farmlands, and it just goes on and on and on. So yeah, doesn't look like a very exciting place, but it is still very important. Over the in the Konstantinivka region, the Battle of Konstantinivka continues, with fighting also reported at Paraskovievka. We have no updates, so I believe the next intel drop is going to be shocking. That's what I think. We move on over in the north. There is also battle in the Battle of Krasnohorivka, continuing the fighting in the chopstick. So for those that are new or may not have heard this is the chopstick. This chopstick, the southern chopstick and the northern chopstick. So the Russians are currently attacking into the southern chopstick. They have incurred into the center of the northern chopstick. But yeah, but that's all we know. This is the reports have not been coming. So I think we're gonna see pretty much. I think the time is about soon. In the next 1-2 days, I believe we should see the intel drop. Then we go to the FK front, where the entire thing just went to shit. It looks like a massive diarrhea over here. It just splashed everywhere. It's like the shit hit the fan, and then the fan turns. That kind of a horrible situation. So over at the southern flank, we have fighting reported at Khalivka, and the Russian forces seems to have secured Yasnobrodivka. This is based on Russian claims, and they have fought all the way to the Isthmus. Fighting is also reported in not fighting, but the Russian forces also secured all the way to Skushne, and basically with this we can say that the Russian sources have declared Skushne captured based on their mapping. There is geolocation of FPV drone hitting Ukrainian armored vehicle over in Kalinove. So that happened. I think there is a massive disparity between the the number of forces on both sides. I think the Ukrainians are heavily outnumbered in this area here. And so we move further up north. In this area, Russian forces allegedly have captured Mezove as well, Komishevka, Novozelany, Zavitny, as well as, of course, previously have already announced Mykolaiivka. And so there's a lot of places, including Skushne. So everything is captured around here. But if you look at only the Ukrainian mapping, they try to minimize the seemingly this area here. to the point where that Mezove is not captured. Novo Zeleny is also not captured. That kind of situation. This is the Ukrainian mapping. It only looks like this. It's still a lot of grounds being taken, but they have not acknowledged the kind of capture that the Russian mapping have said. However, clearly the Ukrainians are delaying information because geolocation of Russian forces at Zavene has confirmed Zavene has been captured by the Russian forces. And this notwithstanding that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has consistently been reporting about fighting at Pitishe since the 14th of August, which means that since the 14th of August, Komishivka has probably already fallen to the Russian forces, and the attack has already arrived at Pitishe since like 5 days ago. So this mapping definitely, this Ukrainian mapping surely is a bit delayed, and quite a lot delayed, and the Russian forces have already overrun Komishivka. I don't think the Ukrainians defend it at all. They basically just retreated to Pitishe because this is a much more defendable position, and there is a crossing around here with Skushny? No, there's no crossing at Skushny. The crossing is north of Skushny. So the Ukrainians are holding the line around here, and the Russians basically swamp in, overrun Medzove, overrun Komishivka, geolocation of the raising of flag of Zavene, and as the Russians continue to search across the entire front line. And I don't think Pitishe can be held much longer. I think the Ukrainians is going to abandon their position very, very soon as well. Because once the Russian forces start to flank them on the western part, I think they will just run. So this is not holdable as well unless they have enough forces to push back. And if the Isthmus has indeed fallen, the Russians can now surge towards Kalinove and swing northward, and that is going to be bad as well for the Ukrainian forces, and Pitishe will be impossible to hold. So over the Mykolaiivka region, this is also very interesting. The Russian forces has expanded their control around Mykolaiivka, and the fighting has now moved on from this area here. Not just the covering of this area here, but the Russians seems to be pushing in the direction of Marinivka towards Novohorodivka, and they're also heading southwest. What is southwest? Southwest is this major city of Selidove, and pretty significant in this area here. It's not massive in terms of what cities are, but the Russians are now attacking in this direction with fighting already reported in Mikhailivka. Now, there is some rumors about Russian forces in the region of Selidove, but cannot be confirmed. But the Russians are getting very, very close. And this is basically like the alternate second boss, where I mentioned about fighting towards Pokrov. So this is kind of ridiculous because we have the first boss at Horodivka and Novohorodivka. This is a 1, and this is like a 1+. This is like an alternate. And then we have the second boss over at Mirograd, and then the final boss over at Pokrov. Now the Russians seems to be very greedy. Not just they want to take on Horodivka and Horodivka, they also seemingly want to go for the second alternate boss, and then to push up towards Pokrov. This is like, wow. So clearly the Ukrainians must have some very deficient situation in terms of their military situation around here for the Russians to be so ambitious. So let's see how this develops, see whether the Russians indeed is going to do this ridiculous Popasna out of this entire area here. So RIP to the Rhino. It looks nothing like it not anymore. I don't even know what is this monster here. And over in the north of the Novohorodivka region, Russian forces continue to be attacking in the region of Horodivka, and the Russians have seemingly captured Zuravka, and fighting is now reported at Kurtia, as the Russian forces have taken this entire area here. And this would allow the Russians to attack northward towards Horodivka, create a second vector of attack, which is what the Russians usually do when they are attacking a heavily defended settlement. So, and I believe that they will also push for Krasnaya and then go for Mykolaiivka again. Because why I say again, because so many places is called Mykolaiivka. So, and so this is what I expect the situation to continue to deteriorate around here. And once the second vector comes, I think Horodivka will fall very quickly. And north of Horodivka, over at the Novotoretsk region, Russian forces has already declared capture of Sivridonivka, and the Russian Defense Ministry have just announced it 5 days after the fact, and the Russian forces have taken all these grounds over towards Novotoretsk. And from here, the Russians can now push north of the Kazany Toretsk, and they can also push southward towards the northern part of Horodivka. And if this happens, which will mean that the Horodivka could potentially be attacked from 3 different directions. And this would mean that the Ukrainians will have only one thing to do: run. They can't hold a position at all, not in this way. So this is the significance of these developments around here, with the potential pincer in the horizon to know of happening over at Horodivka. And there is also already fighting reported at Marolivivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which means that the Russians have already probably penetrated past Novotoretsk, and they are now pushing towards Novolibivka. Because the fighting reported at Novotoretsk is only mentioned by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry did not even talk about it. Because this area here clearly is undefendable or very hard to defend. All the troops are just not motivated to defend. So the Ukrainians are holding position over at Marolibivka, and the Russians probably just walk past Novotoretsk and continue the attack into Marolibivka. Very similar to the situation at Pitishe that we have previously analyzed, where I believe that Komishivka has probably already taken by the Russian forces because of the fighting being reported at Pitishe region. And this is indeed seemingly know what had happened based on the mapping provided by the Russian sources. So over in the northern sector, we have the usual. The harassment at Kalinove continues. The alleged attack in the direction of Zelenitpole, as well as Vozdvizenka, continues to be reported by the various sources. But the front line is not moving around here because the Russians are making this massive push towards Pokrov, as well as a consolidation of the south of the Adiyevka front. So we will continue to monitor this situation around here. I haven't made a decision about the changing of the frontline name because this looks unpokrovki to me. We move into the New York front, another area where massive collapse has been reported. So over the New York region, the entire New York defense line has collapsed. There is this major defense line stretching kilometers and kilometers has entirely collapsed and taken over by the Russian forces. The Russian forces, according to Russian mapping, is even further apart. They take full control of the substation of Zelizny, and they have taken basically everything, including all the lakes around the eastern part, the east of Nelipivka. The entire eastern part of New York has collapsed. This is confirmed by Ukrainian mapping, and the Ukrainian mapping went even further, showing the Russian forces attacking Nelipivka from 2 different directions, particularly over in the southwestern part. The Russian forces have entered into Nelipivka, and this confirms the DPA's analysis that this will end up in a pincer, and this attack from the western part of New York City is the one to watch. I did mention to you guys, and this had happened. And in fact, now this mapping shows that for many days, Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian sources, has been holding back this information because you can't possibly attack and take so much ground within a day. So the Russians clearly has been moving forward around this area, and now information has been withheld until now, and suddenly we see that the Russians are inside Nelipivka, which explains why there is this massive collapse of the entire front line. Because if the Russians are already starting to attack at Nelipivka, which we first reported the fighting on the 13th of August, this information could be 5 days late. The fighting could already start to reach Nelipivka 5 days ago as per the reports, and then the Ukrainians start to do this mass withdrawal because they can't hold this position at all if fighting is at Nelipivka. So for these 5 days, the Ukrainians probably are trying to hold back the Russians from entering Nelipivka while they do this mass withdrawal out of this very narrow exit route of this New York front. And as they do mass withdrawal, that's why the front line collapsed quickly. And which is also why I mentioned previously, as I said before, this front line is drawn in a way that it looks like it has collapsed entirely. I say the lack of details shows that this is a mass withdrawal, this is a mass retreat from the Ukrainian side, and I have again proven to be correct. And again, the Deep State UA has drawn it in this way, and this is abnormal. There's no front line that looks like this. This is a continuation of the mass withdrawal, and they are refusing to acknowledge that the entire region has been flushed out of Ukrainian forces. So as a result, I believe that the Russian mapping over on the eastern part of Nelipivka, this is most likely to be correct. This is most likely the actual reality, that the Russians have basically overrun the entire region east of Nelipivka, and the Ukrainians just simply give us the most important information, this pincer by the two fingers over at Nelipivka. So this is the finger, it's like Nelipivka, Nelly. So that is the situation right here. And clearly, of course, this is also bullshit. This is also a bullshit. Ukrainian mapping show this entire area as gray zone. This can't possibly be a gray zone. It is simply Ukrainians have withdrawn from this area here, and they are refusing to acknowledge that the Russians have taken the entire of New York. Because if they put it entirely in red, Russian forces basically captured New York, and it will become a massive news. So they don't want to cover up. They don't want to make this become a PR disaster yet. And I got a feeling that the Deep State UA may not even acknowledge that New York City has fallen when it falls. I don't even think they might want to acknowledge it, because of the PR disaster it may cause. Deep State UA a few weeks ago said some real stuff, and it went into the mass media and became a massive PR disaster for the Ukrainians. So Deep State UA, I'm quite sure, is going to be very careful, and they are going to keep it as low profile as possible, because now is the PR offensive. The Kursk offensive is ongoing. They got all the Ukrainians very excited. All the pro-Ukrainian YouTubers got something to report about now. They are very excited. They focus purely on the Kursk updates. This area here, this thing shouldn't be talked about. It shouldn't be talked about, because it's not just about reporting, but it's also about funding. Because this Kursk success has bring in a lot of donations, and they want to keep this money flowing. That's the situation right now for the Ukrainians. So it's still a success for Kursk. May not be militarily, but it could be monetarily. So over at the Zalizny region also, there is geolocation of Russian forces just on the top of this hill, which means that the Russian forces have captured this entire area as per the Russian mapping. So let me zoom in a bit. So is geolocated here. There's a Russian flag, and this means that the Russian forces, basically the mapping is actually accurate, and this invalidates the Ukrainian mapping entirely. So whether the Russians have the rest remains to be seen, and but I do have my doubts whether Ukrainians would even want to hold positions here at all. So I believe the entire morale for the Ukrainian forces in this entire region has collapsed as well. So it will be difficult to say now where the Ukrainians will actually hold the defense line, because if the morale is at extreme low, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to want to fight, especially if you are struggling and feeling very punished for a very long time. You're really struggling very hard. You have been asking for more men, more reinforcement, more supplies, more missiles, more rocket, more bullets, more artillery, more armor, and the command don't give it to you. Then suddenly you get this report of the Ukrainians went on the offensive in Kursk, while on your sector you're getting pushed back every single day, and the command refused to give you what you need to defend the line. How would you feel? So it's going to be very difficult. I think the morale across the entire of the Ukraine front is at horrible situation right now. I think especially at the Avdiivka front, at the Kupiansk front, Svatove front, Sivers, New York, Donetsk, all these fronts, all the Ukrainian defenders are going to feel horrible because they would probably want to enjoy Kursk offensive. At least they're attacking and they feel like, you know, a soldier. Now they just in this region here, they just on the back foot. Most of the time they feel like cannon folders, and that's the reality. So this is just something that I want to add. And yeah, the situation sucks. It is what it is. So no, but the alternative is surrender. Do you want to surrender? You don't, right? So you want to fight. So then just fight on. So over at the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front in the southern flank, the Russian forces attacking at Klishevka region. They're attacking towards Tilievka, towards Tuposhki, and towards Proteshne. The Proteshne. Yeah, Proteshne. However, of course, the actual front line is now a mystery, because all these reports of fighting, especially towards Bilahora as well, and then Dilievka, Bilahora, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry talk about Tuposhki and Proteshne. So Russian Defense Ministry also talk about Proteshne. So what the hell is happening right here? Why is there no frontline changes? It's too suspicious, which means that there might also be a massive intel drop in the near future that will gonna shock me, shock you, shock everybody. So brace for it. If it doesn't happen, you can blame me. Blame me. Don't blame the Russians. Blame me. Nah, you can blame the Russians because the Russians cannot fight. So over in the northern flank, there is also crazy stuff happening. Russian forces are fighting in the area of Khoikhorivka, Kalinina, as well as Chasivya. But this is not the crazy part. The crazy part is actually north of this position over at Zaliniansky. The Russian forces suddenly attack out of Zaliniansky and they have actually taken grounds. Frontline changes around here and they are pushing in this direction. This is where I recommend the Russians to attack towards the right Oleksandrivka, which is over here. This is a very strategically important town in this region here. If the Russians take right Oleksandrivka, reinforcement towards Sivers from this sector is gone. Like gone. There is no way to resupply Sivers from this area, and the Ukrainians would have to resupply through Liman. This is the only way to resupply Sivers, because from right Oleksandrivka, from right Oleksandrivka, the Russian forces can easily push and cut the road. Anyway, the road is going to be cut because the Ukrainians can't possibly go from this direction and go there. That don't make sense. So once right Oleksandrivka is cut, the Ukrainians will have only one road, and it's going to be Liman, and it's going to be a very disastrous road to go on because it's all forest. Who knows what's going to be there? Maybe you got lions, wolves. So anyway, we move into the Sivers front. At the Sivers front, Russian forces are only reportedly attacking at Okanyamsky. This is the only fighting being reported here. We move into the Kremina front. At the Kremina front, Russian forces are attacking at Torsky, Terny, and Novosadove, as well as I should scroll down a bit. I should zoom out a bit. Oh my god. Okay, at Torsky, Terny, Novosadove, Nevsky, Makievka, and towards Kharkivka. So this is the current situation in the southern half of the Oskil fronts. Named after the Oskil River, which is over here. This is the Oskil River. So the Russian forces are attacking in all different directions, but the only update we have is the Russian mapping showing that the Russians have taken the entire eastern bank of the Zeribets River at Makievka. So it's Zeribets River, right? Yeah, Zeribets River. So the situation looks bad, and if the Russians take control of the entirety of Makievka, this would allow the Russians to break through in the direction out towards some soft spot. But the Ukrainians do build a lot of entrenchment around here, so let's see how this goes. We move further up north. Over in the Pischane sector, in this area, Russian forces are attacking at Terbaivka. They have pushed southwest of Pischane. They are fighting towards Kolesnikivka, as well as Gluchivka. They also make progress at Berestove, and they are fighting at Stemerkivka. So you can see this is very, very activated. This looks like a very real front. This is where a real offensive is currently happening. And over at Pischane and Berestove, Russian forces have finally been mapped in the southern half of Berestove according to the Ukrainian mapping, and Russian forces have also taken another 2-3 lines southwest of Pischane, confirming the fighting direction towards Krylakivka. And this fighting direction goes towards this crossing at Senkove and Krylakivka, and this is a very, very vital crossing for the Ukrainians. So if this is lost, the entire Ukrainian forces will be cut in half in the Oskil sectors. So, and further up north, we have over at the Kupiansk front, fighting reported at Sinkivka and Petropavlivka. So, but this is usually nothing burger, so no. So don't buy that burger. It's not tasty. There's only bun. No, one bun, two buns, Sinkivka and Petropavlivka. You put together, there's nothing inside. So it's a disaster. So no, don't buy it. Don't waste money. We move into the Kharkiv front, and the Kharkiv front, we have just the general report of fighting over at the Lipsy and Voschansk. That's all. Nothing spectacular is happening around here. We move away from the Kharkiv front and into the spectacular Kursk front, and the Kursk front is getting very cursy for the Russians. The Ukrainians have started to attack in the Pincer direction, in the Tekhino region, and in the western front. And then, so we're gonna go into details. The Ukrainians continue to attack in the northern front, in the western front, in the eastern front, and the Russians are still counter attacking over in the southern front. Ukrainians are also pushing, probably also in the Sudzha region, which is central front. So let's move into details. Over in the southern front, southern flank of the Kursk front, Russian forces are fighting or are attacking in the region of Borky, Fanasievka, as well as Chikaskaya, Penopelka, Konopelka. And the fighting reported in these two regions prompted me to map the Ukrainian forces or the front line to be something like this. This is, of course, estimated, and I believe that the Ukrainian forces have basically crossed the Psel River and attacked towards the region. They have taken all the countrysides of Chikaskaya, Penopelka, as well as Fanasievka, and which is why the Russians prompted the Russians attack in this region here. There is shelling reported south of Krylovka. This might be actually where the crossing is actually located. So the Ukrainian forces cross over and then managed to break through. But I might be wrong. Yeah, I'm definitely wrong because the system don't work this way. Okay, so it could be from Krylovka and then they just penetrate through in this area here. So this is the frontline change in this area here, and this is based on the DPS assessment, not based on any mapping. So we shall continue to monitor the situation around here. Over the Sudzha region, or the central flank. In the central flank, let me move this area. Okay, let's just do this. In the Sudzha region here, Russian forces are attacking Mikhailovka. The situation in the eastern side of Sudzha continues to be very, very unclear. There is no clear indication that the Ukrainians have fully secured the eastern part of Sudzha yet. So we will continue to monitor in this area here. Over in this Poroshnoye region, the Roskoye Poroshnoye, as well as Chekaskoye Poroshnoye, the Ukrainian forces continue to be attacking in this region here. There is no change in terms of the situation. Russian forces shelled Kositsa, and there is geolocation of a FAB 3000 dropping on the Ukrainian forces, which is probably referring to the same thing, which is the Kositsa shelling. Pravda situation continues to be unclear, so we just continue to wait and see whether we have any updates on this thing. We move further up north. In the northern flank, Ukrainian forces continue their operation to attack Stefanovka, Sheptukovka, as well as Alexievsky. Uh, uh, but the line is basically the same line that we have reported for days already. The Ukrainians can't break through this northern line, and so we'll just have to continue to wait and see. This time round, they're attacking from both sides, from the south, and try to flank north. Didn't work out. It seemingly didn't work out. So let's wait and see whether the Ukrainians will make it work tomorrow. Over at the western sector, so this is going to be getting a bit big, this western sector. So the Ukraine forces are attacking at Ogovka in the region of Kerinevo. They have seemingly captured Snagorsk. With Russian forces are attacking Ukraine forces over Snagorsk, they may also have captured Apanasovka, and there is report of fighting over in Komarovka, which is over here. And this is significant because this represents a huge frontline change. This is mapped by Deputy UA, so this is just Ukrainian claims. But it's important to note that the fact that the Ukrainians are mapping this means that they have lifted the entire operational secrecy thingy. So they previously did not want to update the entire Kursk offensive thing, and they were lagging behind by days, and apparently nobody give a damn about their reports, because I also don't give a damn about their reports because it's so late. And if it's 1 day late, it's okay, 2 day late, maybe. Freaking hell, they're late by 1 week. Who the hell cares about their mapping anymore? So they have updated their mapping to, I don't even know what the hell is mapping, but on this sector, on this western sector, this is the most updated one. No Russian mapping have this, and so this is a updated mapping of the Ukrainian side of the fighting around here. So the Russian forces continue to hold a very strong line over at Kerinevo. But however, the Ukraine seems to have captured Ogovka, but this cannot be confirmed. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces in the northern part of Ogovka. I think it's a tank, if I didn't remember wrongly. Is a tank. You see, I didn't remember wrongly. I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, so the tank is geolocated in the northern part of Ogovka, and there's a high chance that it is captured by the Ukrainian forces right now. But we shall wait a bit more and see how this goes. And the fact that Snagorsk has fallen means the Ukrainian forces are pushing towards Komarovka, and they will probably reach along the river, and they will be able to attack towards Grushkovo. And so this is the eastern pincer on Grushkovo, and it's looking pretty successful at this moment. But the Russians clearly do not have the capability to reinforce this area because of the bridge has been destroyed around here. So this means that crossing over here is very difficult, and the main road here is challenged by Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainians are too close to the road. They can't really go through the road, go through the jungle. Not jungle, forest is going to be very difficult as well. So it could be a case where the Russian forces in this area just is unable to hold a position, and they may be forced into some kind of withdrawal from the front line positions. They are falling back, and the fighting is now in the more rear position. So the Russians are getting pushed back in this area. But again, I don't even know if these are the regular force or are these still the special forces. We have talked a lot about these possibilities and all the conspiracy theories, all the analysis in the DPA Open Mic. So do check out the DPA Open Mic that has been done, episode 92. Check out the DPA Open Mic. You will love it. It's a quiet taste, but have some patience. It will grow on you, and then you'll get addicted, just like everybody else in the DPA Open Mic. So on the western flank of the Grushkovo Pincer, Ukrainian forces suddenly have mapped by the Ukrainian side to have taken Otruba, and this entire region here all along the Semi River. So there is this Smell River or Smell River, Smell is Sim River, okay, CM River, or whatever river you want to call this. So whatever this is, this river, the Ukrainian forces take advantage of the geographical advantage and basically annex this area into Ukraine, because this just makes sense to be inside of Ukraine to me, because it's along the river. So but now it's under Russian, so they took it. But this doesn't mean necessarily that Tekhino is fallen. Tekhino is still under Russian control, but this will allow the Ukrainian forces to build pontoon crossings and hit into the rear positions and flank the rear position of Tekhino, and allow them to continue to break through into the wilderness, which the Ukrainians love to do. And this entire area is now operationally, compromised for the Russians, because because of the destruction of the breach, there is basically no very good crossings for the Russians. You can see that this river system over here, I should use another color. This river system over here links all the way up. The Ukrainians are simply taking all the land from the western bank of this river, and this river continues up all the way to Glushkovo, where this is where the bridge got destroyed. I should draw like this, and it got destroyed by the Ukrainians, and this river moved on. And let me move this here, and this river moved all the way to Komarovka, and all the way leads to Snagos. And if the Ukrainians captured Snagos, then Apanalfovka hit towards Komarovka, you can see that this entire area here is just compromised. The Russians is going to lose this entire area by the look of it. So let's see how this develop. So this is the Kursk front. There is some shelling reported in this area here. I don't think I need to cover this, but it does show that there is Ukrainian presence, and this could also mean another incursion towards Rylas. So anyway, this is the Kursk update. I will go into much more detail. This is already a lot too much detail. I should have gone into so much detail, but if I have the time, I'll do the Kursk update later. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and if you watch to this point, you should subscribe. And so the DPA war is for the hardcore war fans, we watch war and we go into details, analysis, tactics, strategies. We are not like the frontline changes report viewers. No, they just want watered down stuff. No substance. You must have substance. So anyway, thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.